So, when you look at Swiss International Airlines in 2025, it's a real paradox. You've got these incredible highs, like launching a brand new flagship jet, but at the same time, you've got these really challenging lows, like having to ground a part of your fleet. So, let's break down this story, because it's a mix of triumph and some serious turmoil.
Yeah, it really is like a tale of two completely different airlines wrapped up in one. On one hand, you have Swiss celebrating this huge milestone, a real leap into the future of aviation. And then on the other, they're just grappling with these technical issues and operational headaches that are causing some major turbulence. It's a real balancing act.
All right, so let's start with the triumph. The good news. This all kicks off with the arrival of their brand new flagship, the Airbus A350. And look, this isn't just another new plane. It's a symbol of everything Swiss wants to be: modern, premium, and a massive step forward when it comes to efficiency.
And the turmoil? Well, at the exact same time this is happening, the airline is forced to make a really drastic decision. They have to ground an entire subfleet of their aircraft. Why? Because of these persistent mechanical problems. It's just a wild contrast, right?
Now, to really get a sense of the scale here, you have to understand that the Swiss fleet, it's pretty big. We're talking over 90 aircraft connecting Switzerland to the rest of the world. So you can imagine, any decision that affects even a part of this fleet is going to have these huge ripple effects on their routes and, of course, their reliability. So if we take a look at their fleet, you can see it's pretty diverse. You've got the Airbus A220s and A320s. Those are the real workhorses for all the short-haul flights across Europe. Then for the long-haul stuff, they rely on the big Boeing 777s and even some older A340s that are still flying. But as we're about to see, the two planes at the absolute heart of this story are that shiny new A350 and the very troubled A220.
Okay, let's dive into the good stuff first, the high point. We're talking about the arrival of the airline's new star, the Airbus A350. I mean, this thing represents a huge investment and a really significant step forward for Swiss. And hey, you don't just have to take my word for it. The CEO of Swiss said it himself. The A350 isn't just a new piece of metal. It's a statement about the airline's identity and its future. This is the plane that's meant to replace those old, gas-guzzling, four-engine A340s. And you know what? They wasted absolutely no time putting this thing to work. It gets this grand welcome in Zurich on October 9th. Just over a week later, the crews are deep in intensive training, and by October 25th, it's already flying with passengers. I mean, that is a seriously fast turnaround.
Okay, here's a fun little detail from that delivery flight. Normally, a flight from Toulouse to Zurich takes, maybe 90 minutes? Well, this one took 4 hours. So why the long face? Turns out, the airline flew the new jet in circles all over Switzerland just so they could get some absolutely stunning promotional footage before it even touched down. Smart move. All right, so that was the high point. Now, we got to talk about the turbulence. Because while everyone was celebrating the A350, other parts of the Swiss fleet were in some pretty serious trouble. Right now, Swiss is dealing with two separate but major headaches at the same time. On one side, you have what's being called an embarrassing calculation with their A330s, and on the other, a full-blown crisis with their A220s that required a drastic decision. Let's start with the A330s. Basically, there was a planning miscalculation when they installed these new, super heavy first-class seats. The result? The planes are now off balance. And the solution? Well, it's to install a permanent 1.5-ton counterweight in the back of each jet. I mean, it's a fix, sure, but it's pretty embarrassing for a premium airline that's all about efficiency. But honestly, that whole A330 thing kind of pales in comparison to the A220 problem. There have been these persistent issues with the Pratt & Whitney engines that have forced Swiss to ground its entire fleet of the smaller A220-100s. And this isn't just a Swiss problem, by the way. These engine issues have hit airlines all over the world, creating this huge maintenance bottleneck. For Swiss, the grounding is expected to last for at least 18 months. That is just a massive, massive operational blow. So with a big chunk of your short-haul fleet just sitting on the tarmac, how do you keep your schedule from falling apart? Well, this brings us to the solution Swiss came up with, and it's one that's turned out to be pretty controversial. Their solution is something called a wet lease. Now, what's that? Basically, it means you don't just rent the plane. You're renting the whole shebang: the aircraft, the crew, the maintenance, the insurance, everything. And to plug that huge gap in their schedule, Swiss has turned to another airline, Air Baltic, to fly some of its routes for them. And this is where things get sticky. The airline says, look, this is a necessary fix to keep from canceling a ton of flights. But the Swiss cabin crew union, Carpass, they're calling it a dangerous precedent. Their argument is that it lets the airline use foreign crews who get paid a lot less. This whole practice is known as wage dumping, and the fear is that it just undermines local labor standards. Now, the authorities have ruled that no laws were actually broken, but the tension around this, it's still really high.
So when you put all these pieces together, the big triumph and all this turmoil, what you see is an airline that is truly at a crossroads in 2025.
So really, the whole story comes down to this dual reality they're living in. On one hand, they're celebrating this state-of-the-art flagship and modernizing their fleet. At the exact same time, they're dealing with embarrassing technical fixes, an entire grounded fleet, and a pretty heated labor dispute. It's an incredibly complex and challenging balancing act, and one that has a direct impact on their reputation as a reliable premium airline. And all of this leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The airline has this brand new star in the sky with the A350, but it also has a huge part of its fleet stuck on the ground. So can Swiss actually navigate all this turbulence and come out stronger on the other side? We'll have to wait and see.